Stephen Mosley.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I would like to start by welcoming the measures announced by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, in his budget, which continue to lay the foundations of an economy underpinned by enterprise, opportunity and wealth creation. Whilst the European and the global economies have faced a torrid time over the past 2 years, the Chancellor has been unwavering in his commitment to bring our own spending, our own deficit, under control, without which we have no chance of creating the future economic success that we all desire. I'm also delighted that the Chancellor is making the strategic decisions on how our economy should evolve and compete in the future. Of course I'll give way.
I thank my honourable friend very much for giving way, and I wonder, as the previous speaker completely ignored all the announcements about corporate tax rates, whether he'll be covering those and the way they incentivise business growth during his speech.
Corporate tax rates, of course, are one area which is incredibly important, but there are many, many others. I'm actually going to be tackling some of the issues that the member for Southampton, Itchen, talked about in terms of investment, and that's why I'm concentrating on this speech. Because many people in this country, quite rightly, ask the question, how will we, in Britain, earn our living in the global marketplace of the future? And Mr Deputy Speaker, like the Chancellor, I believe that there are sectors that the UK can take a global lead. Sectors where we do have the ability to excel. Sectors with the potential to generate the growth for future generations. And one of those, the one that I'm going to concentrate on, is of the digital economy. The UK's IT and telecoms industry currently delivers a gross value-added contribution to the British economy of some £81 billion a year, which is around 9% of the total economy, and is a figure very similar to that delivered by the financial services industry. Around 1 in 20 of the workforce, that's 1.5 million people, are employed in IT and telecoms. Currently, there are around 100,000 unfilled job vacancies being advertised, and it is estimated that over 500,000 new IT and telecoms professionals will be needed over the next 5 years. By exploiting the full potential of the technology industry, we could boost the UK economy by an additional £50 billion over the next 7 years. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Chancellor's speech contains extremely encouraging signs that investment in information and communications technology is set to continue. More needs to be done if we are to harness the real potential that we have to make our country a global leader in the digital economy. We have a world-class base on which to grow further, but we do require proactive engagement from the government if we are to speed up growth and increase the economic potential of ICT businesses. And we must be much more vigorous in promoting the industry to stimulate wider and sustained economic growth.
The Honourable for giving way, and I'm listening carefully to his speech, not least because he's my neighbour, and I agree with much of what he has said. But doesn't he regret, therefore, that this government actually put back delivery of universal broadband by 3 years, from 2012 to 2015, which is 2 years later than it's going to be delivered in Morocco, which I visited only last week?
If the honourable member, my neighbour, will hold with me for 30 seconds, I will get to broadband in a very quick moment. Because the super fast, ultra fast, I think the current term is, ultra fast. Recently, Mr Deputy Chairman, I know you've been involved with the Parliamentary Internet Communications and Technology Forum. We recently arranged a series of meetings with parliamentarians and industry representatives, including the UK CEOs of some of the world's leading IT businesses, including Facebook, Intel, IBM, Fujitsu, and many others. The universal message emanating from these meetings was that the UK technology industry must be promoted by government wherever possible, and that greater care is needed if the UK is to attract, train and retain the highly skilled individuals that will help our economy to grow. Specifically, 5 key recommendations were made, and the first of those was the broadband issue, that government must speed up the rollout of superfast broadband. Now, I totally support that, which is why I was absolutely delighted to welcome the Chancellor's commitment to invest over £780 million in broadband infrastructure to make sure that Britain has the best superfast broadband network in Europe by 2015. And I'm also pleased by the government's commitment to start the rollout of the 4G mobile networks with the spectrum auctions that are planned for later this year. I will give way.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend. I wonder whether he agrees with me that we must reverse the disastrous collapse in the number of graduates coming out of universities with computer science degrees, which happened over the last decade of the previous government.
Funny you should say that, because the second recommendation of our group was that the government should increase investment in ICT in schools. I was pleased to hear the Chancellor highlight the importance of education in building our skills base, because the fundamental basis upon which any industry can hope to compete and thrive is the skills base of the domestic workforce. My right honourable friend, the Education Secretary, has recently announced that there's to be a shake-up in the way that computing is taught in schools, and this does follow calls from industry and academia who suggest that ICT in schools is too focused on the use of specific software packages and not on the underlying technologies and on learning computer programming skills that will help encourage our young people to develop their own products and be on the cutting edge in the future. But whilst rebalancing the curriculum is one vital step, there also needs to be greater emphasis on the quality of ICT teaching in schools, along with a concerted effort to champion future careers within the sector. I've already outlined the huge significance that IT plays in the wider economy of the UK, yet since 2002, as we've just heard, there has been a 33% reduction in applicants to computing degree courses. More must be done to encourage our young people into an ICT career if we are to reap the benefits that it could potentially bring to our economy. I'll take one last intervention.
Very grateful to the honourable member, and I wondered whether he shares my disappointment that the Education Secretary hasn't included ICT as part of the group known as the English Baccalaureate as the key subjects that our young people need to study.
The English Baccalaureate covers the key core skills that we want people to learn. ICT is an important skill, but I don't think it should be in the Baccalaureate, which covers maths, English, basic sciences, the basics. IT is a highly skilled thing. Some people might be suited for it, some people might. If people are, they should go into it and achieve. Thirdly, it's imperative that the UK trains and retains world-class individuals. Over the last decade, the UK has become a receiver of technology developed abroad, which has slowed down the development of technology in the UK. The overriding message coming from industry was that the single most important criteria when deciding where to make new investment was, are the skills available in that location to support the investment? We have the broad skills base in this country to really push on and achieve great things. But without the right investment and commitment in ICT apprenticeships, for example, the UK does risk being left behind by global competitors. Fourthly, we need a strategy to encourage the take-up of new technology by SMEs and encourage their growth and their development. Specifically, it was recommended that the government can assist by encouraging venture capital investment for the longer term. We have a huge wealth of talent in the UK, but in order to grow their ideas into successful long-term businesses, entrepreneurs often end up selling their ideas and their businesses abroad. A prime example of that is the once globally dominant UK computer games industry, which is now mainly foreign-owned and seeing future investment disappearing offshore. So I was extremely pleased to hear the Chancellor's focus on the computer games industry in his speech earlier. If we want our smaller companies to flourish, we should be encouraging investment to help nurture existing small businesses into medium-sized businesses and medium-sized businesses into large ones. And I would like to pay tribute to the government's Catapult Centre programme. We have always been on the cutting edge of technology in the UK, but our ability to transfer intellectual advances to market have often proved to be a stumbling block. The new Catapult Centres will help commercialise the results of research in technology areas where there is a potential for multi-billion-pound global markets, including the digital economy, and this is to be wholeheartedly welcomed. Finally, As we've heard today, it is imperative that the Treasury emphasises and reiterates the importance of technology to the British economy and that it commits to the long-term opportunities that the sector has to offer. Mr Deputy Speaker, we in the UK are attracting world leaders in new and emerging technologies to our shores. We have the skills base, the flexibility and the economic foundations to encourage more companies to invest here. The government must be championing the technology sector more vigorously and continually if we are to harness its overwhelming potential to act as a catalyst for long-term growth in the United Kingdom. And I'm delighted that in the budget, the Chancellor and the government are now grasping that opportunity.
Sammy Wilson.
Deputy Speaker,